The last verses of Psalm 6 match up really well with what happened on Monday of Holy Week. Let me read the verses. It says, "Away from me, all you who do evil, for the Lord has heard my weeping. The Lord has heard my cry for mercy. The Lord accepts my prayer. All my enemies will be overwhelmed with shame and anguish. They will turn back and suddenly be put to shame." That first verse that I read, which is verse 8 of Psalm 6, "Away from me, all you who do evil," made me think of what happened on Monday in Holy Week, when Jesus went into the temple and he saw all the people exchanging money, and in their hearts he knew that their money-making had become more important than worshiping at the temple. And so Jesus is not gentle Jesus. Jesus steps in and he throws down the money. He just things thrown off the table, money going everywhere, tables turned over, takes a whip and he starts snapping the whip and getting them out of there. He's very irate. He's very, very angry, which is a good expression of how God feels about sin. Saying it doesn't sit well with him doesn't quite cut it. It irritates his heart, like the deepest depths of his heart, in a way that, to a degree, that doesn't even do it justice. Picturing Jesus in the temple doing that. For a God who is perfect and holy and has no tolerance for any sin, there is a deep passion there that we don't want to mess with and we don't want to have to deal with. So when you think about your own life and you wonder, are there times in my life when Jesus would have done the same thing to me? Have I ever given Jesus the right to be irate? Are there things that I've made more valuable to myself than he ought to be? Thinking about that and evaluating our life can discourage us pretty quickly. I don't think it's difficult for any of us to find things that we've done, things that we haven't done, people we've hurt, people we've neglected, temptations that have been entertained in the heart that we know make God irate. And if you get to that moment where that sinks into your heart and you become fearful of Jesus, then notice the emotion going on in those verses. The Lord has heard my weeping. The Lord has heard my cry for mercy. The Lord accepts my prayer. Just remember why Jesus was doing that. He was doing that because long before we ever breathed, he was responding to our cries for mercy. He was responding to the moments that we would weep with grief and guilt and despair. He was responding to our prayers that God would forgive us, that God would yet love us, that God would still want something to do with us. Friends, for the times in your life when you are tempted to think that God wants nothing to do with you, or that God is distant and doesn't care, or that God is indifferent to what's happening to you, go back to Monday. See Jesus' passion. See his determination to deal with sin in the only way that would result in you being forgiven. You are. because Jesus was passionate about making sure it happened. Rest well tonight, my friends.